journey that spans from my infancy. I'm just going to straight away take you from the time I thought I could make money and make a career for myself. And that was in the year 2005. I graduated from a lesser known college on the outskirts of Bangalore in 2005. Yes, it was still Bangalore. So yes, I moved from there to Dubai. I had very few dirhams in my pocket, but I had stars and the entire universe in my eyes. And I landed with my first job. But before I tell you all of that, let's fire up a presentation. Because this is TEDx. Everyone needs to have a presentation. Oh, I have no presentation. And that's because I hate presentations. And that's why I quit my job. And that's why I'm doing what I'm doing right now. So let me take you back into my first job. It was a job where I sold cookies. Yeah. They were not sweet. It was a monstrous job. I wore a not so fancy apron. I wore a not so fancy chef's hat. And I stood almost in a haunted mall overlooking a Segway play area with screaming, blaring joyrides. I stood outside that little store as a marketing manager and I opened this tin of cookies and I said, "Sir, try my sweet chocolate chip cookies." People did come in to the store and they did eat the cookies, and I cleaned up tables, I cleaned up the floors, I cleaned refrigerators, and I did all of this for a month. This was my first job. And I remember it took me a lot of courage to say, what am I doing with my life? Why am I waiting tables? Everything said and done. I'm a graduate, I studied finance. I should possibly make some use of it in my life. So I sat down over a very expensive cup of coffee. Yes, that expensive cup of coffee is the smallest size of espresso because it's the cheapest coffee you can get at Starbucks. And at that time, it was the most expensive coffee I could afford. But I sat down and I said to myself, I need to quit this job. And I learned my first lesson there. The first lesson I learned was, you do not have to walk a mile in shoes that are hurting you. Instead, you need to have the courage to kick them off, feel the sand under your feet, and yes, take that next big decision of your life, no matter how sweet or enticing the journey may pose itself to be, even if it is as sweet as monstrous cookies. That brings me to my next job. It was Microsoft. So I brought Microsoft. So yeah, Microsoft happened to me in 2007. I should take you back on the day I joined my job. I received a joining letter and it said, "We welcome Kubra Sait as the Programs Marketing Specialist for Microsoft OEM." When abbreviated, I was the PMS of Microsoft OEM. I should have hung my shoes right there. She said, "No, this is not meant for me. What am I doing here?" But no, I was under the influence of them. All of a sudden, my life had they who took immense pride in what I was doing. They were extremely happy about this new swell address that I had in the heart of the city in Dubai. They all of a sudden became friends with my mom. They said, "Now Kubra can settle down. Ab acha ladka milega. Shaadi ho jayegi." They believed I could make the best friend to them. They believed I had enough money to, take them out to parties. And sooner or later, I realized that they never really contributed to my life. To add value or to subtract value, I was just stagnant. And I felt with every single day that I worked at Microsoft, I hated presentations even more. And I never really excelled at Excel. So I had to decide to find myself one person who would be my life jacket. It was a great cushioned job, but I had to move it out of my butt and find myself one person who I could trust in. And for me, that person was my mom. She visited Dubai, we had a chat about it, and she told me one thing. She said, you can sit by the river banks for days together, reading a book, learn how to swim in 30 days. But you will never learn how to swim until you don't touch the surface of the water. So come on, kick that cushion aside, wear your life jacket, I'm here for you. That brought me to the second big lesson of my life, and that is, if you find a confidant in a parent or a sibling, you are going to be extremely lucky. And it may not happen easily, it may not happen in the first moment. It took me a good 25 years to build this relationship with my mother. But when you do strike that relationship, you strike gold. Because this relationship is non-negotiable. And it's okay. Kick that cushion, find that life jacket. That brings me to the third stage of my life. City of Dreams, Bollywood. And yes, that is where I learned how to be paid to talk. Well, when I decided to move to Bombay and decided to be paid to talk, there were two options in front of me. The first option was, am I going to be in a place where I'm going to convince people that I had talent? Or am I going to use the talent that I had and propel myself way forward? So I chose the second option. I remember as a child I would stand in my grandfather's courtyard. He had this huge iron gate and it had this massive latch. But I would unlatch it, face it and recite my poetry. My grandfather would come, ruffle my hair and say, Kabutar, baataan kam kar. And I'm sure wherever he is today, he must actually be very happy because this kabutar never stopped talking. In fact, today she's paid to talk. So yeah, I decided to speak to event managers, travel around, physically meet them, leave an impact, because those were the days of BB pins and hey, what's your Facebook ID? But you had to meet people in order to leave an impression. And I did. And I did bag my first job. And this was within the first month that I moved to Bombay. I was really, really excited. I wore my outfit, I was ready, I had my makeup on. I was so sure that I'm going to make the most impactful first show of my life. 1 hour before the show, I got a call. We found a known face. Sorry. I sat there, cupped my face in my hands, and I cried. But I did look up, and I said, that's not the end. This is just the beginning. And I found myself in a place, in a room of 12 people, which resulted in my first show of my life when I moved back to India. 12 people listening to me. I was like, that's the greatest thing that's happened to me ever. But that was just the beginning, because thereafter I think I've lost count of the number of people I might have addressed in my life, or in the last 7 years that I have moved back, and I'm doing what I truly love to do. And I love it so much that I will do it for free. But I will make sure that I respect every single stage that I set my foot upon. Because every single stage allows me to explore that one new joke, that one new line, that one new emotion, connect with one new person. And that is what makes every stage of my life special. And we're talking about stages. Today there's really no looking back, because I've hosted concerts with thousands of screaming people all over the US and Canada with Sonu Nigam, or an entire stadium full of people screaming and shouting for hardware, or hosted Pro Kabaddi with millions of people watching me, or most importantly, the recent phenomena that hit me, and that was being me in Sultan as a commentator, doing what I do for a living. And when talking about Sultan, being an actor, that didn't quite happen very easily. I walked into an audition room. I was asked to sit wearing a real short skirt. So I sat like that, waiting for the director to show up. And I waited. I waited for a good 5.5 hours right there in my short dress. And finally when the director came, he said, "Ha, maid ka role hai na? Theek hai." And walked away. I had been signed to play the maid in Salman Khan's film, Ready. And I just didn't know how to express myself with joy. I had 3 lines in the film. Okay bhaiya, haan bhaiya, na bhaiya. And I said to myself, yeah, this is more than any of the lines any average maid speaks. This is great. I should do this role. And they said, hey, pagal hai kya? You're going to act in this film with 3 lines. I said, yeah, it's Salman Khan's film. I'll act. So I acted in the film. And when you actually end up watching the reruns of the film, which happen almost 3 times a day on like the 300 different channels, you'll really see that I actually had more lines than that. And sometimes you realize that when you have the talent inside you, don't be afraid to show it to people. Put it out there, so that when people see it, they will find ways and means to exploit it for you. Sometimes you believe you know it all. Sometimes let the universe do it for you. Just let yourself be. And don't wait for that one big opportunity. Grab every single opportunity. Because every single opportunity will make you the sultan of your destiny. And, oh thank you. And that finally brings me to the part where after running around a lot, after working, I'm a workaholic. I love working, right? So I can work 7 days a week, 365 days of the year. Ka-ching! But what does one do when you get fatigued or tired? I just take a break. I don't give up. And that brings me to the last part of my ridiculously awesome life called adventure. So yeah, that's my scuba mask. I'm not going to wear it right now, it's quite tight. But yeah, my scuba mask. Today when I leave the house, my mom says a prayer. She says a prayer because she doesn't know if I'm going to jump off a building, I'm going to jump off a plane, I'm going to climb a mountain, or I'm going to raft a river, or I'm going to go to the bottom of the ocean. But she also says a prayer even if I'm going around the corner, because 1, I meet with a lot of accidents, and 2, I'm a terrible driver. So that's my mom for you. But no, it's important for one to step back, look at what you have achieved, or look at what your life looks like from the outside. Switch off that phone, take a break, go into a place where you can only hear yourself, only hear your thoughts. After a point, you will stop hearing all of that. Hence, I go into the mountains. Hence, I jump off buildings where I can only hear myself scream. But it's such a great release. I go to new places as a solo traveler. And one such travel taught me something that's going to stay with me for the rest of my life. So recently, I was in Japan as a solo traveler. It's really hard to be in Japan and not speak Japanese because Japanese don't speak English. I was in the middle of the busiest square with this map in my hand, perplexed. I didn't know how to reach my destination. And I kept looking back and forth. And nobody helped me. But then all I had to do was stop one person and ask him, where is my destination? Can you help me? The man walked me to my destination, dropped me outside the doorstep and left. The greatest lesson that one can learn from this is, if you are in a matter of confusion, if you are lost, take the courage to ask. Because when you ask, you shall receive. And sometimes you will receive more than you expected. So ask. And well, I think fairly in my little opinion, I may have done something right. But I don't stand here in this red circle to tell you how you can be successful by following me or following someone else. But I possibly could share with you something that worked in my favor. The first thing that worked in my favor is me setting my own goals. I always believed that goals are self-made. They're not benchmarks of other people. You need to define your own goals. If I want to run a marathon, I wake up and I start practicing for it. But I should be sure that I celebrate every mile I achieve. Because every mile you take, every mile you complete is the stepping stone towards your success. Don't wake up one morning and have a goal that you do not believe in. Or don't have a goal that is far-fetched so that you have greater chances of setback. Why don't you set achievable goals in your life? For that will make you happy every single day. The second story or the tip of success that I have learned is say I love you to every person who comes your way. Embrace them and give them love, for they believed in you when you didn't believe in yourself. But more importantly, say thank you to those people who said you will not make it. Say thank you to all those people who said no to you. Because when you prove them wrong, you proved a greater part of yourself right. So when you meet them hug them tight and say thank you. Thank you, you said no to me, because today I've been able to bounce back and I'm far more buoyant than I imagined I would be. And lastly, this is the one quote I had read many, many years ago, and I always felt it had an impact on my life. And that is, it's a quote by Sheikh Rashid Al Maktoum. It says, in the race to uniqueness, there is no finish line. I'm Kubra Sait, I'm paid to talk, and I'm nowhere near finished. Thank you.